Hello. So I was thinking back to this statement that supposedly was told by the Buddha, which was to be light unto yourself. And I think that this is especially needed right now when all of us are kind of threading through darkness a little bit and not really being able to see what's coming. So it's really one step at a time. And the only thing we really have, the experts are telling us what they think, but the truth is no one really knows how long this virus is going to last and the long-lasting effect it's going to have and how it's going to affect each and every one of us personally, individually, and that's probably going to be different across the board. So this is a time of darkness in many ways, darkness in that it is a time filled with fear and a lot of suffering for a lot of people, but it's also a time of darkness from the perspective of we don't really know, uncertainty. We don't really know what's coming and where we're going. And the only thing we can do in situations like that is to become a light unto ourselves, rather than stepping outside of ourselves to go look for answers as to what to do, what's coming, what's possible, is to actually come back and be able to do that for ourselves. So in many ways, I love that. And the Buddha, I sense, was a man who was all about inner authority. Don't let anybody tell you what's real and what's not real. Don't let anybody tell you anything about your direct experience. You have to be a light unto yourself, and you have to be your own authority and find your own way and essentially ignite your own inner wisdom and live your life from that perspective, from that point of wisdom. So he was a man after my heart in some ways. And so, I was thinking about this concept of what is light. When the Buddha said, be a light unto yourself, what are some of the things that come up when we think of light? And so these are my ideas, my thoughts, but I invite you to think about what are all the ways that we can be a light unto ourselves. For me, when I think of light, I think of a few things. One of them is the light of wisdom, the light of knowing. So be a light unto yourself for me means be your own wisdom, find your own center point of wisdom. I like to call it either your well of wisdom or your inner wisdom way of knowing in some ways. How do we know from the inside? How can we be led from within rather than looking outside of ourselves for the answers and for direction? So for me, light represents wisdom, the light of wisdom, the light of knowing, the light of awareness. When I think of light, I also think of brightness. And not only something that shows us the way, but even brightness in terms of healing and being warmth, the warmth of light, the healing energy of light, the nourishment. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, the nourishment of light. I think of the sun, and yes, the sun gives us, the means to see what's happening, but the sun is the nourishment of nature. Without sun, there would be nothing. It's not that everything would be dead, there would be nothing. It literally is one of the main components of life, is light. So there's the light of wisdom, and then there's the light of being, the light of aliveness, the light of warmth and brightness and healing. And so how to use that light to not only know and have that innate wisdom from within, but also to generate some kind of warmth, some kind of kindness, compassion, brightness from within. A place where not only do we have mental nourishment, that wisdom, but we have emotional, spiritual nourishment that comes from within. And it feels to me that when we can have these two lights, the light of wisdom and the light of the heart, in some way, the light of nourishment, then you bring these two things together, and suddenly you have the light of creation. You have the light of creativity. Suddenly It's almost like you now have a light to see where you're going, where you're stepping forward, and which direction to go. So for me, light is about direction. It's about inner knowing, it's about inner nourishment, and it's about inner direction towards creating an outer reality. Rather than the outer reality defining where and how we move, being able to find all this inner light, however you define it for yourself, but this light of wisdom within you, this light of heart, kindness, confidence, some kind of inner power, aliveness within you, and to merge these two into a map of your own creation, your own vision, creating your own reality, and being led from within. So for me, in these weird, uncertain times, that's the only way to go, is to really get comfortable with going within and finding our inner light, finding the light that's going to heal us, give us energy, make us feel safe, make us feel connected to our environment, to ourselves, to our longing, to our desire, to our highest vision. And not allowing anything else outside of us to define that for us. And then figuring out from that wisdom, from that heart, from that connection, from that inner power, what's the next step? What makes the most sense right now? What do I need to do right now? Journaling about it. Essentially figuring out, how do I come out of this better, bigger, more, however you define those things, than who I was and what my life was about when this virus hit. And in many ways, this is our invitation to all of us. Are we going to be one of these people who, on the way out of this, are significantly lessened on all fronts, or are we going to be one of these people who essentially found a way to make sense of this, to use it, to be of service, to offer ourselves, to gift ourselves, to essentially go in and find what our gifts are, and to not be on automatic pilot with our lives, but essentially to find our inner light, to be a light unto ourselves, so that we can direct our lives with certainty, even in uncertain times. So that is my offering to you. That is my challenge to you. I kind of dare you to be a light unto yourself and to figure out, what does light mean for you, and where does it live inside you, and how do you tap into it? How do you attune to it? And how do you essentially merge with it in such a way that it leads you and you are its breath, its movement? I hope that's helpful. It's just a little something that went through my mind. I wish you well. I hope you are healthy, your family is healthy. And until next time.